Thanks so much, Lottie. And if you're, like me, tired of listening to Wes, it's time to get some action underway. The stage is set, and Seattle, the home of Halo, is now hosting some of the greatest players from around the world. And what a curtain opener we have. Optic Gaming, the current reigning defending champions, up against Complexity. Dan, what are you feeling about the tournament? How are you feeling about the series?
I mean, tournament I can't wait for, and it's always great to see the reigning world champions as well as the reigning LAN champions we have, Optic Gaming, up first, because it kind of sets the precedent for the tournament. How are they playing? How are they feeling? You heard Wes on the desk say, I want to get a listen in nice and early to see what the mood's like, what the camp's like with the Optic Gaming roster. And a Complexity game here, it should be an easy one for them. This should be an absolute blowout. We've seen these two teams compete several times already this season, and every single time it's gone in favor 3-0 to Optic Gaming. But there's always that what if. There's always that one team that could maybe make an upset, make a name for themselves. And Complexity have the players capable of doing that. You've heard it from the analyst desk. We've got players who have been there, done that. This should be a brilliant series, but I do still think it will be an Optic dominant one.
Taking a look at the series layout then, game number one, how important that could be. CTF Empyrean, Dan, tell me something about it.
It's very good opener for Optic Gaming. They're 7-1 at the moment. You would have seen it in the graphics a little bit earlier. It's one of their best game types because they can play it at their own pace. They can be comfortable on their one side of the map. They absorb pressure and then they just attack when they get given that opportunity. That being said, Complexity have one of the better win rates on CTF Empyrean as well. They know how they should manage the map. They've got good snipers on that roster as well, so they should feel comfortable here in map 1.
Now, all eyes are set, and the expectation here is that Optic Gaming will win this series. But for Complexity, they can look back to last year, how Native Red went on that momentous run. They got top 3. Can Complexity be that team that causes the upset?
They can. Do I think they will? Probably not, but maybe my mind will be changed after game 1 here, because if we see players like Karmea just step up to the plate, become that superstar that we believe he is capable of, then there is a chance they could disrupt this roster, and maybe Optic will be left scratching their heads a little bit, looking across the main stage saying, hey, are we going to allow this to happen? Optic cannot allow this to be a banana skin. They have to start strong, as it looks like we are almost ready to kick off the Halo World Championship.
Optic Gaming looking to cement themselves one of the greatest teams of all time, going back-to-back Halo World Championships, a feat only accomplished by the former Tusk roster and CLG. That's what's at stake this weekend. And for Complexity, looking to be that underdog and cause the upset. We don't have to wait too much longer to open the Halo World Championships. Shields up, weapons hot, Optic Gaming title defense starts now.
And already Lucid sprinting towards that sniper rifle to ensure that he can be the player to watch over his teammates and make sure the overshield and rockets can be secured, but it has not gone well. Complexity have been able to get them. And Lucid is going to be sent for a little skydive.
No parachutes to deploy. Off the map he goes, sniper rifle along with him. On board with Tusk now. The 1v1 against APG, and the gangster rings through. And already they've started to take control. And Optic Gaming laying siege to Complexity's base.
Keep an eye on the positions that APG will hold and the angles that he will take to try and support teammates. He's always putting his body on the line, but he's always prepared to get into the action and get a little bit scrappy. And it's very important that APG can find these positions for the team. As Karmea will go down, Optic Gaming looking to just assert their dominance. But it looks like we may get a restart here because it looks like Complexity have lost a player.
One player drops out, we will get that all sorted and situated once more, because Optic Gaming are a very good team. They don't need an extra man as well.
They do not, but I did see a snipe shot was hit from one Optic member to another, so even without any sort of auto-aim assistance, they can still hit the headshots. Very impressive. Well, but we will go back to our main game. It's going to be Optic Gaming versus Complexity. Remember, if you want to carry on watching the B stream, head on over and watch that Twitch link. But Complexity with a 1-0 lead as we join this one. I said I wanted to see an early flag cat from Complexity to prove why those stats could be true. And here they are, 1-0 up against Optic Gaming.
A hot start for Complexity. Texas rivals, these two orgs. Usually when they clash, it goes the way of the green wall. Could this be the moment on the biggest stage of them all to cause the upset? Have they been waiting all year long to do it here and now? Tusk in a 1v1 with Formal under bridge. The Optic Gaming man will fall. Can they hold this lead, or do they have ambitions of building on it?
Well, usually if you can take a lead against Optic Gaming, you are going to find yourself in a far better scenario, because then it means now Optic have to kind of up the tempo a little bit. They have to be the ones to try and break through this setup, get onto the other side of the base. They can't just sit at that halfway line and defend like they can do previously. So this is the perfect start. This is exactly what Complexity would have wanted. And now they will play around these rockets in about 20 seconds. Get a couple of nades, perhaps. It is always interesting to see which team is going to prefer rockets over overshield.
Optic Gaming now forced to be the aggressors, down by 1. Like you rightfully mentioned, power-ups should be on the map very soon as all 4 down for Optic Gaming. That's Complexity making inroads in the base. Over the halfway point is Karmea as he tries to dip out. Unsuccessful though. Lucid's nades expertly placed an overshield in the chest of Tusk.
And rockets as well for Gilkey. So that all 4 dead came in the perfect time for Complexity. Really now pressing Optic. And Optic forced back a little bit, but Lucid just doing what Lucid does best. Gets into a position to ensure that those 2 players from Complexity were caught a little bit off guard. And that just stops this push. It stems it from Complexity, but it's good. Complexity need to continue to be aggressive here. Force Optic back. Don't allow Optic to suddenly take map control here.
Lucid with a pivotal plasma pistol shot to the spine of the overshield player. Quell the push. And there's now Optic Gaming threatening to put a flag cap on the board of their own. APG wisely backs away as Gilkey looks for the chal. Grenades go down, keeping APG 1 shot, but TriPPPeY's there, and here comes the push.
And maybe here comes the boom as well. Formal's going to have sniper rifle control on top of tower. They've already taken down 2. Tusk the last remaining player. And this is going to be a flag run under bridge. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. It can work if you have that control. And with these kills that are just flooding in now, this is going to be an easy and comfortable cap for Optic to tie it up. Very efficient. That's the Optic Gaming I expected to see.
Sebastian talks about under the sea. It appears under the bridge can also be a successful route, particularly if you want to get yourself back into a game of CTF on Empyrean. Expertly done from the Optic Gaming boys. Now they starting to find their feet here in Seattle.
They've got both sniper rifles, so now they can dominate whichever side of the map they want. Formal happily takes that one as TriPPPeY cleans it up. And now for Complexity, they've just got to be careful because if they off-spawn, just keep running into these snipers, they're going to slowly lose even more control of their base. And it could be a back-to-back flag cap potential here for Optic.
That member of Complexity almost got double force pushed. Formal finds the shins of KingNick. That's all that was required. As he holds the top tower and now pushing into the base. Tusk down to 3 shots and Formal will get that kill. APG combines, but they will fall. It's 2v2 on the map for now.
That's the only downside of holding tower and trying to run it under bridge is that those spawns over towards Mauler can be very overwhelming if you don't bank the nades correctly. It allowed Complexity to trade out. Optic are still trying to press their advantage, but now it finally gets stopped. Complexity can breathe for a short while. But with rockets and overshield coming up, very wise from APG. Instead of just trying to rush across to the other side of the base and try and help his team, starts focusing on these power-ups.
APG hears footsteps above him and with good reason. The Tusk descends on the overshield with Heatwave in hand and secures his 2nd successive ones of the game. Lucid bottom tower tries to stay alive and avoid the shots, trying to narrow the angle. Tusk says no, no, no. Respawn screen for you, fella. But Formal on hand to ensure the overshield won't be a factor for much longer.
But again, it's rockets as well for Complexity. This is not what we're necessarily used to be seeing from Optic Gaming on Empyrean CTF. They're usually the ones that are dominating all the power-ups, all the power weapons. So Complexity have done their homework and they've made sure that they can hold these angles correctly to ensure that they're instead getting said power weapons. And it's good patience from Karmea as well. He's not just pushing willy-nilly here to try and pick up a kill or 2. He wants to make these kills count as the first one does connect.
Second one, the chamber will find a home. 3 dead for Optic Gaming. Just over 6 minutes on the clock. Sniper rifles about to pop as well. Formal waits under bridge. A couple of shots on the Tusk, but backs away, knowing he will be a threat on the map. KingNick down long haul will be sent back home. But it's Complexity who are putting and applying all the pressure right now.
Well, you say that, but
where did he come from?
Suddenly, Gilkey out of nowhere appears, but APG is able to sniff him out. It's Gilkey in the moment with 12 kills, but it is Optic Gaming who are just slightly pinned back. KingNick's also trying to force his way into the base right now. So a lot of responsibility on these sniper shots for APG, and he is not missing. So important that you get these bodies just so that someone can clean it up, so you can stop these pushes from happening. Again.
Consistent damage by APG. Allowing his teammates to clean up some one-shots. And Optic's base is safe for now. Tusk, though, peels one off. Top tower with a fadeaway shot. And APG lies lifeless top tower, sniper rifle down 2. And it's now Tusk can start to find the bodies. 2 dead for Optic Gaming.
APG again though on the defense. In that flag. Willing to have a boxer brawl with anyone who might walk in. Gilkey though getting aggressive on that tower, but you can see the spawns now over towards Mauler. It's going to be the same problem for Complexity here. These spawns are very overwhelming and Complexity just have to back off because rockets are going to be coming up in 10.
Tusk holding the line. TriPPPeY goes down. Rockets in 5. APG knows how important they can be. Tusk has to give them up here. It's great pressure from Optic Gaming. And Formal on hand to get the clean up as well. Could these rockets be pivotal in Optic Gaming taking the lead?
This is far better from Optic in planning their kills, making sure they time it correctly, so now they've got rockets to work with. APG just looking for any wandering players down towards Overshield as well, and now Optic need to put these rockets to good use, and APG will cover with them, but not able to connect with the first rocket, and this could be a dead flag if they're not careful.
Formal goes down, along with his long-time teammate, good friend APG. They have to give this one up, but TriPPPeY tries to keep it alive. Gilkey's getting tanked up from the back. Back from Karmea just to keep Gilkey alive. This flag's dead in the water.
Yeah, huge there from Karmea to be aware, make sure that the backpack comes through, otherwise it could have been a chance for Optic to try and just get a messy flag on the go. We spoke about it just before the series and we saw the comparison, Gilkey versus Formal. It's been Gilkey at the moment putting the numbers up. Formal hasn't had the hottest of starts, but he's been in a lot of positions where instead he's actually just put that damage down for his team, and Lucid's been picking up the kills. TriPPPeY has plasma pistol in hand to shut down the Gilkster.
TriPPPeY might not be done there. Takes the shields away of KingNick. Nothing left in that Spartan but a bit of paint. Shields will come back. Ready to re-engage. A couple of warning shots over towards Lucid. Both players familiar with each other and know exactly where they're positioned now. And information will be passed along. It's now APG who will fall, but 2 members of Complexity will go down along with him. And KingNick desperately tries to live, but TriPPPeY ensures that will not be a possibility.
But the longer this goes on, the more confidence Complexity are going to be gaining here, Jersey. 2 minutes 50 left on the clock. They're still tied with the reigning champions, not just reigning LAN, but reigning world champions, Optic Gaming. And they are keeping them at bay. They are frustrating them here. And we knew that this could be Complexity's best game type, but APG with the sniper rifle might have just ripped Complexity's hopes away from them right under their nose.
APG's peeling wigs. Gilkey though. Frag grenade spins up and takes Formal's legs from under him. And again, the damage still being put down as APG fires another shot towards KingNick. Can he almost out-BR him here? The gangster's not missing shots right now.
So much confidence as well, so much belief in your team there to re-challenge with the battle rifle, re-challenge with the sniper rifle, as APG almost holding the whole of Complexity back by himself. And Optic Gaming will put this, will they? Oh, 3 have gone down. Good grenades coming from Complexity as there's a last stand here.
Optic Gaming in trouble now, risking a counter cap. Flag's been returned. Complexity trying to stay alive here, trying to stay in the game. And they've managed to send that flag back home. Optic Gaming on the doorstep of taking the lead.
Incredible return there from Tusk to be able to just sneak round to long haul whilst all that focus was happening over towards Sword. And sometimes you need that in a player, someone who is able to put on a brave face and say, I think I can get to that base. I think I can overextend. It's a double kill now for KingNick as well, as they continue to frustrate Optic Gaming here.
KingNick walking down long haul. APG puts down a couple of shots and immediately Nick has to put the brakes on and slam it into reverse. Gilkey also down to no shields. And it is now Optic Gaming who hold the numbers advantage, and they will push forward.
Lucid having a little peek from under bridge. Does call out the one player, but look at the angles that Complexity are taking at the moment. They're not kind of bunching up and allowing Optic to target them. Every corner they turn, there's a different Complexity player watching them from a distance. It's great coverage and great teamwork from Complexity, but it's very defensive. And it is allowing Optic now to start taking advantage of it after they get pick after pick. Tusk last remaining player yet again here in Mauler.
Gonna get cleared out. Tusk will go down. Karmea over towards Cut. Beautiful grenade. Will take Formal out, but not before the Optic Gaming man claims his life. APG gets flagged down long haul, and this is the opportunity in the moment for Optic Gaming to steal the game. No damage being taken. APG has a clean run at this, and he will slam it home as the green wall go up 2-1.
And after all that fight, after all of that effort from Complexity, it's ripped away from them in the final moments. And it was APG who was brave enough to dive over the grenades, grab that flag and get it down long haul. And there is not going to be time here for Complexity to even get a flag touch. Optic Gaming will take game number 1 in this series as they start off the Halo World Championship 23 with a dub.
Perhaps not as easy as they anticipated. Complexity made a real game of it. But showing resilience once more are Optic Gaming. We spoke about how important game 1 would be, and it's gone the way of the green wall.
And those are the kind of games that make you champions. Those are the kind of games that perhaps if Optic weren't really up for it, they would have probably fell down to a Complexity that were frustrating them, but they made sure they kept on fighting hard. They had to change their strategy a little bit in the mid game. They were giving up too much rocket control, so they started to be a bit more aggressive at the right time. And I think Optic will be delighted to just kind of say, all right, that was a tough game 1, but at least we're able to get through it, because Complexity were making it difficult for them. A lot of the positions that Complexity players were finding themselves in, they were just tagging Optic in the backside, and Optic was just kind of turning around. They were already down in that fight, and they were never really able to get going.
Sometimes results are more important than performance. And speaking of, Lucid, 7,400 damage. He's starting the tournament off right here on Friday.
But we have to talk about that kind of sniper spree from APG as well. I mean, that was one way to shut down any momentum from Complexity, who were starting to feel themselves a little bit. Of course, they had that 1-0 lead, but APG ripping, I think it was 3 faces, or at least it was a double. And after that, Complexity never really recovered. And I think that Complexity now, they have to take the positives from it, right? It's very easy to have your head down and say, oh, we could have won that map number 1, but that's good. You could have won that map number 1 against Optic Gaming. Take that into map number 2. Take that into your BR fights that you're going to have in this upcoming Slayer match.
And Wes spoke about it on the desk. For Complexity, their tournament will not be judged about how they perform against Optic Gaming. And what we can say is they can take great pride and encouragement from the way they did before.
No, it won't be judged, but it could certainly define their tournament and how they react to this series. Even if they lose this 3-0, what do you learn from it? Are you going to be able to build from it? Are you going to have confidence? Or is it going to allow you to just kind of say, well, we're not good enough. We're not going to win this tournament, so who cares? Every team should believe they are good enough to win the tournament. Otherwise, why are you here at the Halo World Championship? You have to set the bar high. Slayer Solitude is what we're going to have for map number 2 then. And if Complexity can play how they did, I mean, they were out slaying Optic for the majority of that game. It's certainly possible here that this Slayer could go in favor of them.
Game 2 on the horizon. Optic Gaming up 1-0 in the series. Dan, who does this game favor?
I mean, momentum is on the side of Complexity in a way, just because of how they were playing, but when in terms of game type and map mode combinations, Optic have never lost Slayer Solitude. They're 5-0 throughout the season. Complexity have never won it, so stats would suggest that we're going in favor of Optic Gaming here, but if Complexity could just have the confidence they did in map number 1, win a couple of BR fights, there's no reason why they can't take it.
Optic have map control. And Karmea is in the respawn screen. Formula the QT. Get himself out of dodge, tried to get beamed out. Not able to tap the button quick enough, unfortunately for him.
Scotty wasn't fast enough.
Lovely Star Trek reference. We'll take them all day, all weekend long. Gilkey, S4, lands a body. We know how important they can be in just ensuring that player, your teammate cleans up. He's down to no shields, a couple of shots over towards APG. Nothing connecting, nothing doing for now. As Lucid pokes his head out, S4, Gilkey forced to give up the position. And Optic Gaming begin to collapse here. 2 dead for Complexity, could very quickly become 4.
You got to remember that Complexity have never won a map against Optic Gaming this season, so the fact they even came that close in map number 1 shows they have been improving, and perhaps they are finding their form at the right time here at the Halo World Championship. But if they could just sneak a little Slayer victory here, then maybe the chances could be there, as Former was just waiting, hovering, hoping that someone was going to eventually walk into that reticule.
Crosshair, placement on point. Tusk and blue window. Back down, TriPPPeY will go and finish business. Kill secured to the green wall. Gilkey, as he heads up Soda stairs, Formal Could be about to get a pinch and a backstab, but Karmea is there to ensure his teammate will not receive any damage.
Keep your eyes on this young man, Karmea. I think that there's a big future for him in esports in general, but of course Halo is his focus, and he has shown what an incredible asset he's been to this Complexity roster. Okay, I'm glad he got a kill after I picked him up. I was really worried that maybe it was going to be a whiff, but he's okay. Complexity only one behind. And Karmea, with the addition on this Complexity team, he has just shown what he is made of, and I think if they can get him into these confident positions where he will happily take 1v1s and not running into 3 members, Complexity could find themselves in a good position here.
1v1s are fine, 1v3s less so. Karmea will go down. A bright future ahead for that young man. Tusk and KingNick over towards Snipe. And TriPPPeY patrolling around Loop. Lucid keeps himself alive with the help of the QT. Sneakily on this little ledge. No angles in which Complexity can put him away. TriPPPeY on Light Rifle will continue to put down damage. There's a 2-kill, making a 3-kill lead for Optic, but Complexity keeping this one close in the early game.
But notice how Optic, when they were pinned back, they were patient, they waited, they expected someone to be a little bit rogue on the side of Complexity, take advantage of it, get that pick, and then they push out. And now, because of it, they've been able to get snipe control. TriPPPeY's going to have a field day here, and Complexity find themselves behind. They find themselves spawning over towards gold, and they're going to have to hope for something similar. But the big difference is you're not going to see Optic poke and prod like Complexity, where Optic are going to be more than happy now with a 3-kill lead to say, you've got to come to us here.
TriPPPeY with Snipe. Like you say, Optic are happy to invite the pressure on. APG remains crouched over towards the Soda stairs, just keeping his sniper rifle player nice and comfortable, receiving little to no pressure whatsoever. Complexity happy to slow this one down as well. Gilkey threatening to step out just a touch. Teammates not there in support. The call appears to be a tram loop push as they start to rotate that way. The pressure being applied. APG will go down, but it will get one in the trade. And 2 members of Optic positioned over towards blue. TriPPPeY is now isolated and all alone. He is landing some body shots, which is some good suppression fire. And APG spawns back up again, and they can continue to hold the line.
Well, the push is constantly attempted here by Complexity, but Optic are holding strong. It's a good time to jump into a listening and see what the comms are like and how they're dealing with these pushes from Optic Gaming.
Careful, Brian, careful.
All right, we have Quantum.
One guy walking up loop, he's just sitting back. These guys aren't moving.
I'm gonna
try to look driveway.
After driving with us. Going right, going right.
That's pushing a driveway. There's 2 guys on that.
Two guys there.
Top yellow, out in the open.
He thrush should be up.
Back up.
Yeah, these guys are, there's like triple yard right now. These guys are super stacked yard side.
They might have 2 thrusts, careful.
That one guy loop, I think, with thrust. I might get hit yard here, or from yard.
I got you.
Yeah, they're just waiting. These guys are just gonna wait.
LR. They know I'm still sniping here.
Watch my corner, bro.
Oh, wait, so?
Both just watching my corner.
LR.
Go,
Left from loop. Left from loop.
I
What's
push
up? Top floor now. Just jumped up.
Yo, loop. Soda.
Yo, bottom market, 2 guys market, 2 guys market. And bottom mid.
Got one, there we go.
Yo, U-turn 1. One shot. Dude, one shot market. One shot bottom dip. Front dip. And then U-turn. He was U-turn.
Guys, one
That's
guy.
square.
That's looking.
He's still there.
Absolute. Going to top
Nice,
end.
guys.
Yo, bottom market.
Absolute.
One bullet. He's a thrust. Going market.
One shot market.
Flutter.
Got him.
He's thrusting.
Market absolute. Got him. Nice. Okay, mark again. Dip.
One bullet here.
Chris again. Chris.
I'm looking for Chris. I don't see him.
I'm hiding posters. But Ryan did this shit, guys.
Adapt from top goal.
Yeah, they probably gonna be thrust.
I be capping.
I'm watching flower door. I'm watching that. Throw it on me.
Yo, still top goal with thrust.
We're not Tusk.
We got snipe coming in 20.
Yo, Joe, I'm
They
trying to
don't
look
do
at you.
much.
Don't even.
Just keep
Soda.
looking bottom of it.
Soda. He just pushed me. He's weak. 2 soda stairs. They're trying to push, guys. They're trying
Yeah,
to push
they're
Soda.
hitting this out, guys. They're hitting concrete.
Concrete now. Nade it. Throw another nade.
Trying to play
I
for
don't
this
have
side.
anymore.
We're here with you now, Tommy.
Yeah, I'm getting S4.
No, he's 2 here.
Concrete again.
Have shields.
More close.
He's one shot on me concrete.
Stay alive.
Trying to get you, Tommy.
One
Stellar,
more.
teammate right now. Cypher's up.
Yes.
He went away. He went DR. Get the quantum, Tommy.
I am.
He's on a push.
Yeah,
guys.
LR's one. There's 2 guys here.
Okay,
Good
back
one.
up. Back up.
Yeah.
Again. Check your cafe real quick.
Last one.
Cafe is clear.
Yo, guys,
Cafe is clear.
I want to get different angles, okay?
I'm hiding.
They left. Yeah. Driveway.
I think they're hitting snipe. That's you.
Top yellow.
We don't have
I'm
cafe
blue.
right now. Careful.
Hey, cafe on me, guys.
Joey,
Oh,
try
sorry.
to come down the ramp.
High window weak.
High window.
On me. On me, guys.
Can't run. We
Coming,
got
Joe.
Joey. Can't.
Have shields, Joey. Have shields.
I can't. There's 2 there.
Flower door, we come
That's
back.
fine.
Dude, there's 2 guys top cafe. 2 guys
We all
top cafe.
dead.
Alright, they have a
Snipe.
sniper, they have everything.
V-thrust might be up soon if we spawn there.
Yo,
no,
hide,
no, no.
hide, Brad.
Yo, we spawn
Already on Brad.
Yo, top gold, top gold.
We're gonna 8 Brad in yard
You
probably.
guys cafe,
Yard me coming.
Wait, I'm coming, Brad.
They have a sniper cafe.
Watching LR, watching LR. Careful of angles.
Run away.
Sitting hotel.
Yeah, right there.
Wanna fight out, Brad?
Camping.
High window sniping. High window sniping.
I'm absolute, guys.
Yo, glass, Joey.
I can't.
One shot
Sniping
snipe.
in
One
blue.
shot snipe.
5 minutes remaining.
I'm gonna fight this guy.
Sweet.
Low window weak, sniping weak. Really weak.
One shot.
Well, Optic were able to hold for quite some time, but finally Complexity were breaking through and they tie this game up 31-31. You can see how slow, how methodical it was, Jersey. Every single time that Complexity tried to make a push, Optic wanted to counter it. They wanted to position themselves so they could fight with as many guns as possible.
Complexity continue to employ guerrilla warfare tactics. Both teams continue to hold the same sides of the map they have 10, 15 kills to go. But as Complexity have now closed the gap, what was a 4 or 5 kill lead is now all tied up. Complexity making a real game of this one.
And Complexity very impressed with the angles they were able to take to actually get that initial pick. It was often from the loop they were able to do the damage where it caught Optic a little bit off guard. You saw as well, TriPPPeY was trying to find angles with a sniper rifle and then he got pressured by the players over towards blue. So Complexity reacting very well despite the fact that Optic were kind of set up and ready and should have been able to comfortably just kind of slowly get through this game. But it just shows that Complexity are here to really put on a show for us. 13 kills at the moment from KingNick. But is this going to be another game of so close, but just not quite there, as Gilkey's going to get caught up?
Here comes the push then into yard. TriPPPeY's clearing out the riffraff. 2 down. Threatening to make it a triple kill. Got 1 player behind him. Somehow, some way escaped with his life. And now Optic Gaming hold a 3-kill lead.
I think this is better though from Optic. They were kind of sitting back and they've noticed that it wasn't necessarily working. Even when they were able to get the first pick, Complexity was still getting damage down. Complexity was still getting kills in their favor. But sometimes you have to just up the ante a little bit and say, all right, well, if they're going to play slow, what happens if we play a little bit more fast-paced? And they did catch a few players off guard, and now they have a few kills lead because of it.
Lucid continues to put down damage. Backs Karmea up as well. They hold snipe. Gilkey heads towards S1. And will begin to push the lift. Up he flies. Body shot connects. Formal on hand to ensure he's no longer a problem for Optic Gaming. And Lucid firing shots. If not to find the body, just to lose the ammo. As they hold this 4-kill lead, KingNick gets checked out of hotel. And Gilkey in blue loses his shield, and now Optic Gaming are starting to roll.
Yeah, 6 kills now you feel should be too much for Complexity. Even if they try and slow this one down, there's only 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, so they can't really afford to. And Optic have come to life just at the right moment, very similarly to what we saw in map number 1. And I think that's what Optic Gaming do best. They analyze their opponents, they try and work out what's going wrong, what's going right, and then they will find that weakness, and they very much expose Complexity here.
Game slows down once more. Complexity desperately trying to stay alive in this game. They need almost a complete, clean wipe to stand any chance. They're getting pressured. Tusk is isolated again. And he will go down. Not having the best of games is Tusk. 3, 8, and 9 at the moment. Just not able to put it together. And Optic Gaming requires 3 more kills.
But again, rather than Optic just holding angles and waiting for Complexity, they took the game to them. They rotate round and they find themselves just 1 kill away.
1 more kill remaining. Tusk in the lift. Gilkey could be the latest victim. Optic Formal Max is there once more to ensure Optic Gaming double their series lead.
And it'll be yet another frustrating one for Complexity because they were there or thereabouts. They were up there, tied with Optic Gaming. But Optic Gaming, they kind of caught a whiff of what was going on. They were saying, okay, well, Complexity want to consistently push loot. They want to try and take sniper control off them. We're having this battle where we're giving up a couple of kills, we're gaining 1. We're only staying 1 or 2 kills ahead. It's not enough. You can't afford to be that close in a Slayer. You need to take a 5-kill advantage. So they started to instead push round. They flanked a little bit, but they flanked together, which is very important. Shouldn't flank alone too often. But it was 20 kills from Formal. We said, is he going to catch fire? Are we going to see Formal showing what he's made of? And he really did in map number 2.
And you can hear in the listening, Lucid had the read. He said, listen, there's 3 of them set up in yard. They're very heavy pushed over here, and there's 1 over towards Tram Loop. And we've seen that pattern consistently. Optic Gaming figured it out. They got the read, and they replied the finishing touches to the game. Looking at damage, again, Lucid 4,100, but this time it's TriPPPeY who tops the game for Optic, but KingNick on the other side, 4,800, but the rest of his team's just lagging behind them.
And it's something that you are going to see throughout the Halo World Championship, is there are some teams who are going to have a deeper playbook than others. Complexity, they kind of ran out of ideas a little bit of how to break through onto Optic Gaming there, and Optic, they were happy to dig a little bit further into said playbook, and they instead said, well, let's not play defensive, let's start to counter a little bit here. And as soon as they did start finding those angles and pressuring over towards Yard instead of just holding it snipe, that's when they started to find success and really got some kills going.
Optic Gaming, 2 to the good. Looking not flawless, there's still some holes in the game. But find themselves up with a clean record for now. On the horizon though, Stronghold Recharge is game number 3. And that has not typically been a particularly strong game type for Optic Gaming.
No, Stronghold's Recharge is one of Optic's worst, that's for sure, but again, some of the losses they've had have been against the likes of, FaZe or a Quadrant, for example, one of the best Stronghold teams that we have in the league. So you can't read into it too much. I think that the fact that Complexity have never beaten Optic on any of these game types, still, you have to lean towards the green wall. But again, there is that chance of now a reverse sweep, right? If Complexity can beat Optic on their worst game type, you go into one ball live fire and suddenly you're thinking, okay, well, maybe we can disrupt something. But I think we are realists here in the caster booth, and we're starting to see a pattern emerging that Optic, they start slow, but then they burst into life towards the late game, and Complexity just can't quite handle it.
And it looks like Optic Gaming are starting to play a little bit of Connect 3. With game 1 and 2 already lit up, looking for the hat-trick in Recharge Strongholds. Before Optic, Dan, we spoke about how they're looking to defend their title. We spoke about how important Formal is. Let's take a look at both his stats and Lucid's.
Yeah, and they have been just the main slayers of this roster. I don't think that APG or TriPPPeY would have any kind of disputes about that. I think we know what Formal and Lucid are capable of, but they just are an absolute pair at the moment, and they are a dominant force in this league. And you can see that the KDs and Slayers are very different between the two. Lucid is usually the player who steps up in those Slayers, but Formal showed us just there that it's not always going to be about Lucid and the Slayers. Like, any of these two players can step up when they need to. And I'm very impressed with how they've started here in this tournament. And if they can find that rhythm that we've seen at Fort Worth, that we saw all the way back at the start of the season as well, there's no reason why they can't be lifting that trophy yet again.
And last year, the story was, when will Optic get that win? This year, they got the first couple and then they started a little bit of a downtrend. Now they find themselves finding form at the perfect opportunity, winning Fort Worth, heading into Worlds. Very similar story last year. They won the event before Worlds and rolled in and carried that momentum forward.
I mean, I think what Optic have done this year, it should be kind of studied in classes of esports. It's stick together, it's go through the hard times, it's work on what's going wrong and making sure you fix it, because it shows that the progress has paid off for them. They won the first event, then they have that downward trend. They finished top 4, which was unexpected. 5th, 6th was even on the horizon at one point, and then suddenly they're back into first place going into the World Championship when they finally hit their form yet again. So many teams would have broken up during that really tough period. There was even cries from fans, oh, they should be dropping X player, they should be picking up this player, they shouldn't. No, it had to be these 4 guys on the main stage together, and if they can go on to win another Halo World Championship, then they can rub it in all of those faces of anyone who doubted them.
Silencing the haters. That's exactly what Optic Gaming have done, particularly last event, showing that they're still a dominant force in the scene. That man on your screen, APG, proving not only last event, but all year long, how important and pivotal he could be to the team. People calling for his head. Unfortunately, and unfortunately for the people doing so, they just don't know ball.
I think it's just one of those scenarios where we have 3 incredible teams in the HCS who on any given day can win a tournament. And it's very easy to go, well, they went from 1st to 3rd, so they must be bad. They have to make a change. Because it's so competitive, it's just these minor differences that can make or break your season sometimes. It can make or break a tournament. And then when you get into a bracket where suddenly you get a team that's on fire, like Quadrant, for example, who can get you when you're down in the dumps, it is such a close and competitive league, and that's why I love the HCS. But for APG, for example, I mean, stats maybe won't be on his side sometimes, but I would encourage anyone who doesn't believe APG should be on this roster to watch his POV for an entire game, not just what's seen on the main screen, because the positions that he takes, the things that he does for the team is imperative for what we've seen in their success from the OG.
Decision making very rarely can be questioned from APG, and as we load into game 3, are they about to put an exclamation point on the end of this series and swat complexity away? They've been little more than noisy neighbors. They're about to load into Recharge Stronghold, and Optic Gaming looking to complete the sweep and start off perfect in pool play. But before we even get there, Dan, there's some more to break down, analyze, and talk about, particularly the statistics when it comes to this game type.
Yeah, well, we get the game ready. I mean, it's a 3-7 map record for Optic Gaming on Stronghold's Recharge. So, again, it's one of their worst. 7 losses is not something you expect to see next to Optic Gaming in general as a roster, because they've been so consistent across the board. And one of the reasons why they struggle with Strongholds is because of the pace in which they play. I've already mentioned it a few times. They like to play a little bit slow, assess their opponents, how they do it, then they come back into the game. Sometimes you don't get that opportunity in Strongholds because that game can get away from you, and then to force yourself to make a comeback can be very difficult, especially on Recharge where you can really lock down 2 of those Strongholds. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case here for Complexity. I don't think they have the strength to hold Optic Gaming for that long, or the pace to do what like Quadrant can do, or what like FaZe can do when they out-rotate Optic. But that's perhaps why we see such a struggle for Optic in general on this map and mode.
And it is important to know, you speak about the pace, and in other game types you can maybe get away with it with a capture the flag and the Slayer, building some momentum and getting yourself back to the game after you assess your opponents. But with Strongholds, you can hemorrhage so many points and give yourself just too much to do.
Yeah, if you find yourself under a triple cap and you don't have a game plan, if you haven't maybe made that assessment, you haven't made that judgment, then you are going to find yourself losing 50, 60, 70 points, and then all of a sudden you may have lost that game. So Complexity maybe need to take something away from what's happened in these early games, get an early start, and then lock down 2 of these Strongholds. But Optic, off the starting strategy, will gain control here of the camouflage.
Needler in hand, the Formal as well. Not able to get the pink mist to do its job. Camouflage will be traded out. 2 dead for Complexity though. A and C were in control for Optic for just a moment, but B and C immediately flipped, and Gilkey now has the shock rifle to play with as he finds one to the body of TriPPPeY, but pink mist this time will come up trumps.
Neither is far more important than you would think on this map as well. 4 scenarios like that when you can just burst around a corner, let rip, and take down that one enemy who might just be a nuisance, especially if they have something like a shock rifle. But Optic just need to try and wrestle back C here. You can then force Complexity back into pipe spawn and then say, all right, well, we can hold these 2. Where are you going to go? If you go long haul, we're going to have eyes trained. If you come gold and come through pipes, we've got a Formal waiting for you.
Formal hits 4 of the best. Perfect kill. Complexity will get A, but will forfeit B in the process. Little plasma rifle shots down. Baiting them in is Formal, inviting the pressure on. Can he get 1? The answer is no. He will give up gold pipes for now. TriPPPeY though immediately turns his attention towards A and gets a plasma grenade, a little blue furry attached to him, and that will leave him with just smoke from his boots.
Well, Optic, we're just trying to say, well, we'll play where Complexity are not. They push towards B because they notice the spawns, and we're probably going to be behind them at A. Also, B and C, or A and B, are usually a lot easier to hold than A and C. Giving your opponent gold pipe spawn just gives them a little bit too much room to try and analyze where they'd like to push. As Gilkey flies over towards A, denies that capture, but will get quickly shut down. Now, those kind of plays are important to stop teams getting too many points too quickly. At the same time, you do have to be careful not to give up too much map control when you're doing it.
Map control was forfeit. Complexity fell in numbers, 3 to be exact. Now having to fight off their backs and from the ropes of gold pipes. KingNick, though, ensures that C could very quickly come in their control as he starts to transition it that way. Lucid will get 1, TriPPPeY the other. KingNick has fallen. We could very quickly fall into a little triple cap territory.
But notice how when Optic Gaming see Complexity is spawning over towards pipes, they don't sit back and wait. Instead, they are pushing, and they are forcing Complexity to make a decision about where they want to go. And long haul was where they were forced to go. They give them C, and now Optic get their desired hold of A and B. This is what they've been fighting for all of the early game. This is where they are far more comfortable as well.
Optic have the foundation to build upon. A very good lead here. Just tip over 20 points. Gilkey over towards Glass. We'll get the hairs ripped off the top of his head, but we'll stay alive for now. Karmea, bottom elevator. It's a solo push for now. Doesn't really have the support nor the help to make this one stick. You can hear a grapple in the distance. And it's going to be Tusk coming to help. Formal's alone for now. Needs a little bit of support from the boys, but Lucid is there to do the damage. That push is unsuccessful for Complexity.
Does he need support? Sometimes all you need is a little shot rifle in hand or a plasma nade just to finish things off. You'd think that maybe it was finally broken, but what Formal did there was delay. He allowed APG to then off-spawn, come and assist, as now they continue to score. And this A and B hold is perfect for Optic Gaming. It's frustrating Complexity now because it's so difficult to try and push up through glass. So then you find yourselves trying to go through tower, and then you're very vulnerable to grenades and from being drilled from up top gold. And this is going to be another scenario here, shows of what does Complexity have in the playbook? How deep can they go? Are they out of ideas already?
Camouflage on the map.
Oh!
APG also on the map with a shock rifle. KingNick drops from the heavens and ensures TriPPPeY will not get away with the camouflage. It's going to be a burn, sacrifices his life, but that's the sort of death that KingNick needs to give up if he can do that sort of damage.
The 2 versus 2. APG out of shock rifle ammo, which is important, I think, for Complexity here, because now they've got a little bit more wiggle room to try and get down long, or if they want to try and push glass. But TriPPPeY is just a one-man army over towards long, and they've not been able to break through. As we now see this lead start to get a little bit out of control, and this is usually where the heads start to drop for teams. You see that scoreboard just ticking over, and you're over 100 points behind, and you know what a war this is going to be to try and get back into the game.
APG is looking to make top elevator his permanent place of residence. Send all mail to that address. As Tusk tries to get close and will land a sticky grenade, an all-important one, and that could be the beginning of a setup breaker as they now have control of A and they push Optic towards pipes.
How often do you send mail to an elevator? That's what I want to know. That's very concerning.
They don't even have mailboxes, actually.
Enemy team
170 to 40 now. So this was the break, but did it take too long for Complexity? They will get the A and B hold for the first time. Optic now over towards C. Complexity shouldn't push up too aggressively on this. You don't want to give away a death and allow Optic to now break through and get that player advantage. It's a 1-for-1 trade, make it a 2-for-2 trade, but again, is it a little bit too much of aggression here because it just opens some of these avenues to Optic Gaming?
Complexity holding a very high line of engagement, perhaps risking the setup that they worked so tirelessly to hold. And now Nick over towards pipes. That setup is broken. Not only that, they have a momentary triple cap, while Complexity transfer C once more. And again, Optic are scoring. You spoke about how important it is to hold. Complexity unable to do so.
Yeah, Complexity made the mistake there of when they were being pressured over towards A, they tried to take C instead of maybe fighting and pushing over towards B. You really have to try and avoid the other team at times, out-rotate them. But what Optic did very well was they made sure they just doubled down a little bit. They tried to use B as a distraction whilst they ensured they got A. 3 go down though, as Complexity will be able to take back B control. And they do have a camouflage to work with. This game is not over by any means, but it is going to be a long old road here for Complexity.
Need to do a much better job of holding the setup. Nick's got camouflage. He's tiptoeing his way into enemy territory. Looking to get behind the lines of Optic Gaming. A little bit of patience being employed. TriPPPeY spotted him out though. Those monitors are 1080p, Dan. 144 FPS. Locked in. And KingNick unable to make anything work with the camouflage. And again, Complexity setup falls apart.
Really got to do better with the camo there as well. That's going to be frustrating for KingNick, who has had a pretty good game. A pretty good series, actually. I mean, there's a lot said about KingNick and his performance back at the SSG Invitational in Salt Lake City. Really underperformed, and I'm sure that he probably went back, made sure he practiced his heart out to ensure he never had a performance like that again at a tournament, and certainly is proving that he is worthy of being here at the Halo World Championship. 12 kills at the moment, but Optic still having control of A and C this time. So now once they get a pick, they will probably try and retake gold pipes, retake B, and they will often give up C just to try and get A and B back under their control again.
Kills been spread pretty evenly on the board for Optic Gaming. 3 dead for a moment though.
Wow.
TriPPPeY walks on into elevator. You look at the clear house here. Gilkey ensures they will control A once more. But Complexity have very few mistakes left in the tank because Optic Gaming require just 15 points to end this series.
I mean, these plasma grenades have been the difference maker at times for Optic. Whether it's just throwing a last-ditch effort to try and get a trade, or whether it's just to try and shut down a camouflage, they've always had them in their back pockets as B and C and soon to be A are going to be in the control of Optic Gaming. And this could be the beginning of the end.
Winning game APG is currently having 16 kills, 4 and 8. Not known for putting up the massive statistics. Usually putting the objective first, proving he can do both here and now against Complexity. As Optic need just 5 more points.
It's going to be a fight over towards B. Lucid's there to contest, and that is going to be last-ditch effort done. Complexity are going to be out of this one, and Optic Gaming 3-0 to kick off the Halo World Championship 2023. And Optic look like they are ready. They mean business. Are we going to see back-to-back Halo World Championships for this roster? It's very early days, but they certainly have shown that they are more than capable to shut down some of these contending teams.
3-0. Flawless victory for the defending champions. Complexity looked good in parts and in phases, but unfortunately Optic Gaming just had too much smoke.
Really do have that championship mentality from what I've seen as well. A slow start in the first map of the day, but really easily able to pick apart what was going wrong and what their opposition was maybe having strengths in. And then they found those weaknesses. They exposed what Complexity were doing on Slayer Solitude, and they were able to get a really impressive lead, turned it into a 50-40 victory. And then Stronghold's recharge, it never really looked out of sight for Optic Gaming after they got that early hold of A and B. Once they did have their ideal strategy, Complexity never really looked like they were getting back into the game.
Complexity had to pick themselves up off the floor and go again, but it's Optic who go 1-0 in the pools, and how important that could be, particularly what we've seen last event and some of the teams throwing the seeds away.
Yeah, I think that, every team has been guilty of it throughout the year, of being slow off the start and losing to a team they shouldn't have, or dropping a map they shouldn't have, and then questions start to be asked not just by us, but by the team as well. Why are we losing maps to a team like that? I think it was really important that Optic started flawlessly, as you said, because they want to be world champions again, and there's no reason why they can't.
Well, the dev spoke about, Wes particularly mentioned that he didn't expect Complexity to put up much of a fight, and Optic Gaming did show that their championship mentality rings through. And Blaze got an interview with Lucid. Take it away, fella.